Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
So this message goes out to Mr. James Gorman. Mr. Gorman wrote made a comment about the recruiting game is over. And I'm just curious, what game is he playing? Because the game that I'm playing, we're like in the second inning, in my opinion. And as a matter of fact, I'm headed down to a home office visit with a $5.5 million team as we speak that's leaving their firm and wants to go independent. So I'm just curious where that comment comes from. The reality is, I think it's more about spin. I think that what he's trying to do and what folks at Morgan Stanley are trying to do in particular, and some of the other firms, so it's not just Morgan Stanley I'm picking on here. They're trying to convince advisors to take their retirement programs, whether it's CTP or a alpha program at UBS, that doesn't matter what the program is. They're trying to convince advisors to take those deals. And for a handful of advisors, that might be the right decision to take that deal at the existing firm and basically sell your business for half of what it's really worth. But his spin is really, in my opinion, this is my opinion, a little bit disingenuous, because what he's really trying to get these advisors to understand or really not take calls from firms like mine or some other firms that are in the business, and not take calls from us, because he knows the truth. And the reality is, it's easier to make a move than ever before. More clients move than ever before. 85 to 90% of your clients are going to move, on top of the new assets you're going to find from your existing clients when you move. It happens all the time. Every single time I move the client, inevitably they get well, since you're making the move, why don't you move the other account that you have? You weren't happy with that advisor anyway. Why don't we move it in all at once? And they find new assets. LPL has a stat that says after 6 months of an advisor transitioning, that advisor is at 106% of their original AUM when they left. So that tells me that that's the truth. But I think what Gorman is trying to basically say is, they want it to slow down. They're not going to be competitive. They're not going to go out there and recruit as much, which also isn't the case, because I see the numbers. I see how many advisors Morgan Stanley is trying to hire, and their deals are really aggressive. So kudos to them. They're still throwing out very aggressive deals. The managers are still being pushed to recruit. And so I don't understand where that comes from, right? If you look at their feet, it's like when you're in football, if you coach football, I used to teach my kids, watch your opponent's feet and their hips, right? Don't watch their head. Don't watch what they're saying. Watch what they're doing. So when I look at what Morgan Stanley is doing, I think it's contrary to what he's saying. My business has never been busier. As a matter of fact, we can't really handle the volume of clients that we're working with right now. And I'm continuing to bring in more and more consultants because I believe we are in the second inning. I think that there's been a lot of movement with advisors leaving the wire / W2 space, going independent, and I think it's really just begun. I'm starting to see more lifelong sort of advisors at their firms starting to pick their head up and recognize maybe this is an opportunity. And actually what I think is happening is when these firms are trying to get their advisors, they're generally the bigger advisors, to sign these retirement deals, what it's doing is it's making these advisors pick their heads up and decide whether or not that's the right move. And so if I'm going to go do that, maybe I should just look around and see what else is out there. And then I get a call, I go through the analysis, I do pro formas, I show them the financials, and it's unequivocal that they make more money, they get more value out of their book of business if they leave their current firm, take a transition package, and then set up a retirement program with their team at the new firm. Because many times you can be more flexible when you're in the independent space with the type of deal that you want, where you don't necessarily have to pull the trigger and pull the ripcord, after 5 years and then never be involved in a practice again. You can just retire differently in between hunting and stuff like that. That's what I would want to do. And I think advisors have the same opportunity to do that today. They just need to have the patience and the sort of the willpower to go through the process, which we can help them through. We can make sure that they find the right opportunity and make sure that the economics are there. But for Gorman to say that the recruiting game is over, again, I think we're in the second inning. I think he's just trying to spin a story, and I think he knows the truth. I think he knows that it's not over. It never will be over. As a matter of fact, when the markets get even choppier, for those of us and those of you that have been in the business a long time, you know that when the market gets choppy and assets at these firms start to go down, the quickest way to bring new assets in bulk is to go recruit advisors. And so the busiest times that I've ever experienced in the business with recruiting was 2000, 2001, and 08 and 09, 07, 08 and 09. And so I don't see that changing. They need those assets. They need to be able to get that recurring revenue in from those assets. And I think that they're still going to continue to be willing to pay for it over and over and over again. So anyway, don't get spun by what they say. Pay attention to what they actually do.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.